you've lived all these years and you've done all this stuff. Why stop there? Why just end and sit there and wait to die? Why not figure out a way to, be somewhere and be around people and form connections and have this really nice quality of life?
Wow, that's awesome. Hello, this is Matt Helton with OneTrust Home Loans, your reverse mortgage experts, and you found the Serving Senior podcast, where we highlight those businesses and individuals that help seniors thrive in retirement. Today, we have another one of those awesome people. We have Miss Shari Ross, and Shari wrote a book called Senior Living Made S.I.M.P.L.E, and she's a senior living coach. And she's going to share with you her motivations, why she did that, and also how she helped seniors thrive in retirement. So look forward to hearing all about it. Shari, how are you doing today?
Hey, Matt, I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time. I know that you're busy, so thanks for working us in your schedule.
Well, I appreciate you having me here. I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing for seniors. So whatever I can contribute, I would love to do that.
Well, thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. Shari, a lot of people, what's the phrase is, it's like, they only work with you or they only follow you or only really get into what you're doing if they know you and like you and trust you. That makes sense. So kind of like to get some background, maybe tell us, who you are, where you're from. Love to hear some of your story and then how it twisted and turned into serving seniors.
Yeah, it's kind of a very roundabout way how I got here. Not a very straight and narrow path, but basically I was born and raised on the East Coast, New Jersey, moved to New York City, went to NYU, Tisch School of the Arts. And as a child and a young adult, I was actually in the entertainment industry. I was acting and performing with commercials and voiceovers, et cetera. And once I settled down, I moved to Los Angeles, settled down, had a couple of kids, and became a stay-at-home mom. And once they grew up a little bit, I decided I wanted to just jump into a whole nother field. And so I became a pharmaceutical sales rep. And the medication I sold was one of them was Namenda, which is meant for Alzheimer's disease. Mm-hmm. So it actually really just opened my eyes to this whole other world of dementia and caregiving. And so I transitioned into working at a memory care community. And I really saw all the, firsthand, all the challenges that families were facing with placing a loved one in senior living. So then from there, I basically went on to become a senior living sales specialist in independent, assisted, and memory care communities. And I kind of went nationwide assisting these communities and literally met hundreds of families where they were just struggling. They'd come to me with like complete panic in their eyes, exhausted. Like, what do I do? How do I know when to place my parent? What do they need? How do I pay for this? All the different questions.
Right.
So if you're new to, dealing with senior living, which everyone is at some point, sure, then there's a lot of questions and a lot of angst. So from there, I just decided I wanted to write everything down. And first of all, I had a ton of really funny stories from all of my time working with these families and with these residents in these communities. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot, even though it seems like, well, how is it funny? There's a lot that goes on, and it's a very personable kind of job. You're talking to these families and really understanding, what is going on in their lives. And so I decided to write a book and put everything that I had learned into that book. And then I created a workbook to go along with it, which has kind of corresponding checklists and journal prompts and just ways to make it easier for families to get through this process and to figure out what's needed and how to do it.
That is so cool. That is so cool. Maybe take us through a timeline. How, when did you kind of dive into the book and then, and what's the process? And then how can people engage with you in that process?
Yeah, so I took notes while I was working over the years, and then I finally left my full-time job, as a senior sales specialist, and I decided to just write the book. And then, and that was I just published it in end of June of this year, so fairly recent. And then the workbook came out about a month later. And at that time, I also set up a practice of basically guiding families, generally the young adults. Sometimes it can be the seniors themselves, but guiding them through the process with them calling, we do Zooms, we do calls, and you could do a 30-minute, a 60-minute call to really just get you through the whole process. So I can hold your hand through it, give you resources, give you just a whole framework of what to do and how to do it.
Wow. Okay. That's kind of the serious side. I'd love to hear one or two of your favorite funny stories.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, this was where I was on a tour. I was giving a tour to a family, and we're walking down the hall, and there's a public restroom inside the community. And I hear a resident screaming, like, help me. And I had to leave the family because I didn't see any caregivers around. So I was like, oh, let me go see what's going on. So I pop into the bathroom, and I'm seeing immediately like a very bad mess all over the floor. The odor was overpowering. And apparently this resident, she had a touch of dementia, and she had a problem with reopening the door. She was basically locked in the stall. So the only thing I could do was to crawl underneath the stall and open the door for her. She was literally covered in mess. And so needless to say, a caregiver came in at that point, helped her to go out, and we called a janitor to come in and clean up. And I'm, kind of scrubbing everything off of myself in the bathroom sink. And when I went back out to resume the tour, I mean, they knew, they could smell it. They were like, what in the world,
It wasn't lunch that they were smelling, huh?
Oh no, it was just, it was like I had to get down in the trenches that day. And, there's been many, many other incidences along those lines. Unfortunately, it just goes with the territory. I mean, that's kind of a gross story, but there's been other ones where it's not quite as gross. Some more uplifting stories. I have a personal story with my father-in-law, actually, because I am a very big proponent of senior living communities, about moving in as opposed to necessarily staying home as a senior. That works for some people, but it definitely doesn't work for others. And I have found over the years that the quality of life just greatly increases when somebody moves into a community.
Okay.
But so with my father-in-law, he lives in Florida and I'm out here in California. So, I'm visiting him here and there, and I'm noticing he's definitely declining. Like he's probably eating microwave meals, and he's not really moving around, and he's getting stiff and just really isolating, not really being social, and just sitting in his dark apartment, like watching TV all day. And I was like, this is not good. So I tried talking to him just slowly, gradually, kind of, mentioning, hey, how would it be if maybe you go to a senior living community and have all your meals made for you, and you get, free transportation and go to Target, and you get, everything at your fingertips. And he was not having it. He was just, nope, not going. Ended up happening was he fell in his apartment. He was on the floor for hours. He was found, fortunately, his brother, who lives in Florida, found him hours later with a broken femur. So he ended up in the hospital and then went to rehab. And at that point, he was like, okay, I get it. I can't live alone. Not safe. Let's figure out a senior living community. So we found one for him. We'd already been looking, obviously, because we knew that was going to be what ended up happening. And he moved in, and fast forward, a month later, literally different person. He is now like 10 years younger he looks. He's eating 3 square meals a day. He's got friends and playing cards. He's going to chair yoga, things I never thought I would see him do. But I mean, he was like happy and he was just thriving. And he continues to do so to this day. This is a couple years ago. Best possible choice he ever made, right?
That's awesome.
It's awesome. And the way I look at it is, this is your fourth quarter in life, right? As a senior. You've lived all these years and you've done all this stuff. Why stop there? Why just end and sit there and wait to die? Why not figure out a way to, be somewhere and be around people and form connections and have this really nice quality of life?
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, that's great to say. That's an awesome story too. Was it, was it the nutrition or was it the lack of human interaction or a combination of both? Like what are most seniors missing when they do the age in place and when they're staying home a lot of times by themselves?
Yes. And it is a combination. I mean, definitely when you're getting the right nutrition, it affects your brain and it affects your body. Then when you're moving around, getting physical activity and exercise, obviously that's huge. But honestly, the biggest component of all of this really is the social interaction. Okay. If you probably noticed during COVID, a lot of seniors were kind of we were all isolated, but for seniors especially, it definitely affected them. Mm-hmm. And after COVID ended, I noticed a lot of decline amongst seniors because they really hadn't been socializing or interacting with other people. Okay. And then when they came to the community and they did start to, you saw an enormous change in their health and just in their quality of life.
Wow. That's fantastic. Yeah, it's very, very important. I think we all kind of get numb to the fact that when we're not around people, it changes us, even because we're around so often. But if you spent years at home by yourself, literally consuming news all day long, what would it do to your mind,
Exactly. And your body and just everything. Yeah. I mean, we all need connection. That's what life is about. And, even though we may not have the best working bodies anymore as elders, maybe we're not, maybe we're using a walker or a wheelchair and we can't get around as much. The thing that you can always do is to connect with people and form relationships. I can't tell you the number of relationships that I saw form within senior living communities. It was absolutely beautiful. People in their 90s that became, kind of little lovebirds again. And it was a way to just enhance the quality of their life. And it was just adorable to watch these people interact and to form these relationships. So that happens a lot in senior living.
Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah, that's so cool. You were besides you were the placement, you were the matchmaker, it sounds like.
You mean between the residents?
Yeah, sounds like
they did that. No, they did it themselves. They found each other. I mean, I definitely, I try to encourage people to interact and, join clubs and eat together and all of that. But they're adults. They can decide what to do.
I'm not sure I don't know if this is a true website or not. We may have just spawned a business idea. It could be like www.silver singles that want to mingle. What do you think about that? maybe
I love it.
Maybe a business. I'm not sure.
I think there is a silver seniors website, like for like a match.com kind of thing, for people over like 60 or something. But don't, if you're watching this on your work computer, please don't Google it. You may not want to Google that. No, don't do that. Not at all.
Awesome. Great. Well, maybe could you share, some resources that are your resources that you recommend to people, and then maybe some outside resources that you recommend when you interact with family members about their loved ones?
With my resources, you have the book, which really gives you a whole breakdown of what to look for, first of all, like when to place a family member or look for senior living for them, how to talk to them about it, because it's sometimes can get a little dicey having that conversation, as we may all know. It's a topic that it's like facing your mortality, so it's hard to bring it up. It's hard to discuss it. So the book talks about ways to start this process. Then it talks about all the differences between all the different options out there, because there's so many. Whether, you have the option to stay at home, but then you have to deal with your house, making sure it's safe and making sure you have the ability to bring caregivers in and be the person to schedule that and all of those things. Okay. Or you go to a community which by the way, I call it a community. I don't call it a facility. I don't call it a nursing home or an old folks home. We want to use the right language to make sure that our loved ones, feel comfortable and aren't scared away. Because in their minds, they're thinking nursing home, where they're just going to sit there in a wheelchair, drooling, and waiting to die. And that is so not what is out there now. So there's everything from independent living, if you don't need real care, but you want your meals and housekeeping and social interactions. Then you've got your assisted living, where, again, it can be like a beautiful community building with all the amenities, but you can have the option of having help with like showering and dressing and grooming and medication management. Then you have your memory care. And that is oftentimes within an assisted living. And that's for people with any sort of, dementia. And those are very specialized. And then you've got, your CCRCs, and you've got, which are kind of a whole campus with all of these things combined.
Got it.
Yep. And then you have boarding cares, which is just like a 6-bed type of home that you can be in if you really don't want to be around all the hundreds of people in a community setting. So just the choices are endless. So really want to teach people about what is what. And the biggest thing is, how do we match it to what your needs are, right? And then there's the whole idea of downsizing, of the move-in day, of what documents you need to have in order. So important to have a power of attorney picked out, financial information at your fingertips. So if you have a long-term care policy, or do you have veterans benefits available to you, or how are you going to pay for senior living in general? So having all that prepared ahead of time is just super vital. And then I even talk about what happens after you move in, like what the engagement would look like, and week to week, kind of how seniors typically would settle in to a community. So I have all of those resources. And then in the book, I do have several pages of resources of different websites to go to, different organizations, whether it be Alzheimer's Association or different, legal groups, or elder care attorneys, or geriatric care managers. There's a lot of help out there. It's just a matter of knowing where to go. So that's like my resource. But definitely I like to share again with families, all of those other resources that I have listed in the book.
That's great. And that's where you mentioned about having your documents and finances in order. And that's where we come in. I kind of call what we do is your second chance. And people, well, I thought you did loans. Let's say, well, what we do is we show people that you get your second chance at the long-term care policy that someone told you about, but you told them it was too expensive and you did buy it 30 years ago. The statistics say that 70% of all of us are going to need long-term care. Unfortunately, only 7% of us got around to buying a policy, right? So you never bought a policy. It was either too expensive. You never know any. Some of us, no one even tells us about it, right? And then it would be the second chance at the 401k you didn't max out, right? You were going to max it out the next month, or you were going to start it the next month, and you wake up and you've worked 30 years and, oh darn, never got it.
Nothing to show for it. Yeah.
But you probably bought a house and you probably made all the payments because, as they say in the forward mortgage world, no pay, no stay. So you probably made all the payments, and you also hit it pretty good as far as timing goes, especially the last 5 years. Your house maybe even doubled in the last 5 years. So your house shot up in value. So that's where we come in, as we help seniors have solutions where they can use a small percentage of their equity to pay for in-home care, pay for living expenses, pay for taxes, pay for insurance. But it's a small percentage where they still have a good chunk of equity that they can also sell the home if they ever need to move into long-term care. Not a facility, if they ever need to move into senior living. And then they also, if they pass away, can still give the home to their kids as well.
That's amazing.
So there's all different options, but unfortunately, a lot of us didn't plan as well as we should have. So you were forced to save money inside your home. The challenge is that we've also been told that it's bad if we use some of our home equity, right? Think about this, Shari. I like to use this example. Have you ever heard anyone go, "You wouldn't believe what Steve and Tony did? They actually pull money every month out of their 401k to live off of." Oh, you would not believe. They're 70 years old and they're pulling money out of their 401k. That sounds horrible, right? No one would ever say that, right? No. Unfortunately, just some people's 401k happens to be their house. It's just buried in the backyard, but people feel like there's some like scarlet letter or some issues like, should I really pull money out of my house? And, there's like this.
Yes, you should.
So there's this weird, like, it's still an investment, just like a 401k, just like a bond, just like a stock or anything. You just happen to live there. So they have this concern about it. So it's literally just a 401k or an investment, still the same house, but we just show them, hey, it's okay to use a little bit of it. You still own the house. You could still sell your house if you ever needed to, and you don't have to make a big monthly payment. You can do it with 0 payments. It's just the biggest no-brainer that nobody understands. So that's where we.
I wish more people knew that. That is excellent. Because the selling of the house or renting a house out, that seems to be a very popular option. But I think some people don't want to give up their house right then. They want to keep it. But still be able to afford senior living. So in a wonderful option. I'm so glad you're doing that.
They could use it to pay for in-home care if they're going to both stay there. Or a lot of times, as you know, unfortunately for us guys, the guys are always sicker or die earlier than the women. Not always, times out of 10.
Often.
So the wife may be able to stay in the home. Then they could still harness the equity if the husband needed more care and go to the facility. So most of the programs, you just need one person to stay in the house as a primary residence.
Oh, okay.
Do that as well. So there's a lot of options that people don't understand.
They don't. I'm glad you're doing this because people need this information for sure. It is a very, very expensive proposition to pay for senior care. And obviously Medicare and Medicaid does not really foot the bill, especially Medicare. Medicaid will foot the bill for nursing homes, which is not necessarily the most desirable environment. It's kind of where you go if you have to go somewhere. But they do support in-home care payments for sure. But for any kind of assisted living or independent assisted memory care, it's usually always private pay.
Sure.
So having that, disposable income from your home is just such a wonderful option.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. And I believe you mentioned that the title of your book also is an acronym as well. Mm-hmm. Could you, as we kind of finish up here, could you kind of walk through what it is, what it stands for, and how it helps people remember the process?
Yeah, exactly. So this is a framework for people who are either just starting to plan for senior living for a loved one or themselves, or if they're even in the thick of it. But so that the letters stand for a word. So simple. So S is for support, which is having a team around you. You cannot do this yourself. It is too hard. There's too much that goes into it. So whether it's friends or family or geriatric care manager or a mortgage specialist or, whoever it may be, have a team, right? Don't think that you can just do it yourself. I is for information. So just figuring out what's out there. What are your options? Learning about that early so that you're not in the ER at 2 a.m. trying to figure out where to go and what to do.
Sure.
Just have your information ready. M is for matching, which is basically figuring out what option is the right option for you. So you might walk into and do a tour at a community and walk in and the lobby is absolutely stunning and gorgeous chandeliers. And it's just, there's chef inspired meals and it's amazing. But you know what? If you are the kind of person that likes real simple things or doesn't want to be around 150 people in a building, that may not be the right option for you.
It's probably like 2,000 or 3,000 a month either, I wouldn't think.
No, that is definitely not. That would be starting for approximately at the minimum of $5,000 going up to as much or more than $20,000 a month. So yeah, you also have to match your budget to what you're needing and the care. I mean, you're not going to go into an independent living community if you need assistance, because then you'd have to hire a caregiver to come in with you and the whole thing. So it's matching to what your needs are and what you can afford, And then P is for preparation. So we talked a little bit about that, making sure that all your ducks are in a row in terms of your legal documents, your financial documents, making sure if there's a long-term care policy, that you know where it is and what it covers. So getting everything prepared ahead of time is so important. L is for letting go. So letting go is twofold. One side of it is letting go of the guilt, because there's a lot of guilt involved in having a loved one, move out of their home and go into a community. So letting go of that, knowing that you're doing whatever you can do, you're doing your best, and that's all you can do. And you might be taking care of your own kids and having a career and now, dealing with your elderly parents. So you're very spread thin. So let go of the guilt, know that it will get handled and you're doing what you can do.
Yep.
The other part is just letting go of things. So one of the biggest things I see when families come to me is they're like, I can't, I don't want to sell my house. I don't want to give up my antique table that's in my dining room. I don't want to get rid of all my china. But you know what? You can't take all that with you to a senior living community. You have an apartment that's maybe, 600 square feet. So you got to pare down. You got to let go of those things because the quality of your life is way more important than the things.
Yeah. So I think you said earlier that you see that the biggest jump from people is interaction and relationships. It's definitely not how many times you ate on the fine china.
Exactly.
Mental well-being, right? It's the human interaction. So that makes sense.
Exactly. But it is hard. I mean, when you're an older adult, you have had all this stuff. Maybe you're in your house for 60 years. Maybe you've had all these things for many, many, many years. And there is an emotional attachment to them. Yeah. Totally understandable. But so it is difficult, but we do need to let go in order to move forward. And then the last letter is engagement, E for engagement. And that is after you move into a community, making sure that you're staying engaged, that as an adult child, you are engaging with your loved one inside the community or in their home or wherever they may be by, focusing on purpose, making sure that they're not just, sitting there like watching TV every day, all night. They're engaging with people and they're picking up maybe new hobbies. Maybe they used to paint and now there's a painting class, and just trying to encourage them to pick up things that maybe they weren't doing before, just to help to create that quality of life. So engage with, it's not just about meals and medications, it's definitely about engaging in life.
That's cool.
So those are the 6 letters. It's doing this whole process can feel chaotic and feel crazy. And I feel like this framework sort of helps guide you along to make it a little bit more, give you a little more confidence and peace of mind.
Sure.
To know that you're doing the right thing.
That's great. Always helps to have a plan, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
That's awesome. Well, I think you've covered it pretty well. Anything that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you that you'd want to cover?
No, I think you've asked everything that I can think of right now. But
Perfect. Well, maybe share before we run, how would people interact with you, interact with the book and the workbook?
yeah, so you can go on my website, which is Senior Living Made S.I.M.P.L.E, same as my book.com, of course. And on there is where you can find buttons to basically sign up for one-on-one coaching in 30-minute or 60-minute increments. There, I can provide you a whole framework of what you may need to do, or just hold your hand through it, acting as sort of just a consultant, a guide for you. You can also order the book and the workbook on my website as well, or through Amazon.com, BarnesandNobles.com, Walmart.com, all the online bookstores have the book. And also, in addition, there's an Etsy store called Senior Living Shop. And there you could just download individual pages of the workbook, the checklists and the journals, just to kind of help you manage and get through this whole process as well.
Wow, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Well, you've done an awesome job explaining it, but also, most importantly, this is a population that's been forgotten and not taken care of. So you've just done an awesome job of serving the people that needs to be served the most. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a ton of baby boomers coming up these days. So I think it's something like, I don't know, 10,000 new baby boomers a day. It's kind of crazy. So definitely we're going to need to get more and more aware and focused on how to, to manage this aging population. And I do believe there's going to be quite a few more options out there as the years go on for our loved ones. But just knowing what's there and knowing how to navigate it all is just, it's challenging, but it's doable.
Yeah.
And we got to do it.
Right.
Nope. Yeah, no way around it. So hopefully this helps.
Yes, ma'am. It will. And thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this podcast with us.
You're very welcome. It was my pleasure.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you for watching the Serving Senior podcast. We'll highlight these awesome people like Shari that help seniors thrive in retirement. Please feel free to reach out to us if we can give any advice on senior finances, and forward this to any family that it could help. Thanks again. We'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day. Hey, this is Matt Helton with OneTrust Home Loans, home of retirement mortgage solutions. And we really do appreciate you checking out the Serving Seniors podcast today. Now, please go to the description down in the body of the podcast where you can subscribe to get future shows. Please click that notification button so you get notified when other shows drop. And also, if you can go to servingseniourspodcast.com, and we'd love to hear a comment about our show. We have a heart to serve seniors, and we have a heart to make sure seniors don't just survive retirement, don't just get by in retirement. We want to show seniors how to thrive in retirement. So if you know of anyone that's 55 and older that could use some extra cash flow, maybe the retirement's not going the way that they like, our retirement mortgage solutions are designed for folks, and depending on the state, they're either 55 or 62 and older, to make sure that they have that kind of retirement that they want. As long as they own a home and they're in a good equity position, there could be some solutions that they may not have thought about, or maybe they've thought of and they just didn't know how they work. That's what we do. So anyone in that age group that could use some mortgage advice, my team and I would love to be able to help them. Thanks again, and look forward to seeing you on the next show. Have a great day.